Money. We use it every single day to buy food, clothes, houses, cars, or even a cup of coffee. But have you ever wondered, where did money come from? How did humans go from trading seashells and cows to swiping credit cards and sending Bitcoin across the world in seconds? Today, let's take a journey through time, exploring the fascinating history of money. Our story begins thousands of years ago, long before paper bills or shiny coins ever existed. In the earliest human societies, people practiced barter. Barter simply means trading one thing for another. For example, a farmer who grew wheat could trade it with a hunter for meat, or a potter could give clay pots in exchange for fruits. It worked, but only sometimes, because barter had a huge problem, called the double coincidence of wants. That means both people had to want exactly what the other had at the same time. Imagine trying to trade your goat for some rice. If the rice farmer didn't need a goat, well, you were stuck with the goat. Clearly, humans needed something better. Over time, societies realized they needed a common item that everyone would accept. This is when commodity money was born. People started using things like salt, grain, beads, animal skins, and even large stones as money. Why? Because these items were useful and widely valued. One of the most famous examples comes from the island of Yap in Micronesia. They used giant stone discs, some taller than a person, as money. Owning a stone meant wealth, even if the stone was too heavy to move. But eventually, something shiny, rare, and durable took the crown: metals. Around 600 BCE, in the kingdom of Lydia, which is modern-day Turkey, the first official coins were created. They were made from a natural mixture of gold and silver, called electrum. Coins were revolutionary. They were durable, easy to carry, and stamped with symbols to guarantee their value. Soon, coins spread across Greece, Rome, India, and China. The Roman Empire, for example, used coins not just for trade, but also to spread propaganda. Emperors put their faces on coins, reminding people who was in charge every time they bought bread or wine. Coins became the backbone of economies for centuries, but carrying large amounts of coins, that was heavy and risky. This leads us to the next big step. The invention of paper money started in China during the Tang dynasty, around the 7th century. At first, merchants used promissory notes, kind of like IOUs. Later, under the Song dynasty in the 11th century, the world's first true government-backed banknotes appeared. Europe, however, was much slower to adopt paper. When explorers like Marco Polo visited China in the 13th century, they were amazed to see paper being used as money. Eventually, by the 1600s, paper money spread to Europe through banks and governments. It was lighter, easier to carry, and could represent large sums without needing piles of coins. But there was a catch. Paper money only worked if people trusted that it could be exchanged for something valuable, like gold or silver. By the 19th century, most countries tied their currencies to gold. This was known as the gold standard. For example, $1 could be exchanged for about 24 grams of gold. This system gave money a stable value, but it also limited how much money a government could print. During times of war or economic crisis, the gold standard became difficult to maintain. Eventually, in the 20th century, most countries abandoned it. Now, money was no longer tied to gold. It became something new. Today, the money in your wallet or in your bank account is called fiat money. Fiat means by decree. In simple words, it has value because the government says it does, and because people trust it. Those colorful notes and coins are not backed by gold or silver. They're backed by trust. Trust that others will accept it when you buy something. Trust that the government and economy won't collapse overnight. It may sound fragile, but this system is what the entire modern world runs on. As technology advanced, money transformed again. First came checks, then credit cards in the mid-1900s, which allowed people to buy now, pay later. Then debit cards, ATMs, and eventually, online banking. Today, most money doesn't even exist as paper or coins. It's just numbers on a screen, moving from one account to another with every tap, swipe, or click. And now, we stand at the latest chapter in money's history: cryptocurrencies. In 2009, Bitcoin was introduced as the first decentralized digital currency. Unlike fiat money, it isn't controlled by any government or bank. Instead, it's based on blockchain technology, secure, transparent, and global. Since then, thousands of cryptocurrencies have been created. Some people believe they are the future of money. Others see them as risky and unstable. Either way, they've changed how we think about money in the digital age. So, what's next? Will we move to a completely cashless society? Will cryptocurrencies replace traditional money? Or will governments create their own digital currencies, controlled and regulated? One thing's for sure, money will continue to evolve, just as it has for thousands of years. From barter and seashells, to coins, paper bills, and digital codes, the history of money is really the history of human civilization itself. It tells the story of trust, trade, and the endless search for better ways to connect with each other. So, the next time you spend $1, swipe a card, or send money online, remember, you're part of a story that began thousands of years ago and is still being written today.